permission, I'll begin.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishiki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamam Vande Shri Guru Nitaranam Paramananda Madhavam. Shri Chaitanya Maheshwara. So we'll begin with verse number 19. Actually, Arjun is very heavy-hearted. He is feeling sad that the Lord has left this material world and gone to his spiritual dham. So now he is recollecting those wonderful pastimes that he got an opportunity to be with the Lord in his personal capacity. So it says, Shayasana Tana Vikathanna Bhojanadishva Aikad Vasyasya Rotvan Iti Vipralabdaha Sakhyu Sakheva Pitavrat Tanayasya Sarvam Sehe Man Mahitya Kumate Ragham Me. Can go to the translation.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Generally, both of us used to live together and sleep, sit and loiter together, and at the time of advertising oneself for acts of chivalry, sometimes if there were any irregularity, I used to reproach him by saying, "My friend, you are very truthful." Even in those hours when his value was minimized, he, being the Supreme Soul, used to tolerate all those utterings of mine, excusing me exactly as a true friend excuses his true friend as, or a father excuses his son. Since the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is all perfect, his transcendental pastimes with his pure devotees never lack anything in any respect, either as a friend, son, or lover. The Lord relishes the reproaches of friends, parents, or financiers more than the Vedic hymns offered to him by great learned scholars and religionists in an official fashion. Hare Krishna.
So this is beautifully done. So he says, Arjun is telling, generally we both used to live together, sleep, sit, loiter. And there are times when the Kshatriyas, they speak about their chivalry, unka jo achievements hote hai. So they boast a little bit, there will be a few words which can be added more. And then Krishna would correct him saying, no, it is not that way. So he will say, my dear friend, you are talking too much of the truth. But then the Lord is Sat Chit Ananda. And the beauty is what? Here in Sakhya Bhav, Krishna normally deals with the devotees in Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. तो ये साख्य भाव की बात हो रही है, सखा है भगवान श्री कृष्ण के, जैसे सुदामा, श्रीदाम, सुबल, भद्रांग, स्तोका अर्जुन, ये सब जो भगवान के प्रिय मित्र हैं जिनके साथ भगवान लीला करते हैं, तो उनके साथ भगवान का जो आदान प्रदान या व्यवहार होता है, it is very different. And even though his value is minimized because of our foolishness or our ignorance, Bhagwan does not take that offense for his pure devotees. Mind you, not for all of us. It is for pure devotees only. So कल हम लोग भी ये पढ़ के बोले हम भी थोड़ा offense करके देख लेते हैं. So Radha Rani in the form of Maya will hammer us out. Okay? Only that one green bag. So, since the Supreme Lord is all perfect, transcendental pastime with his pure devotees. If you remember in the Damodar Ashtakam, there is a verse called Tadi Yeshi Tadneshu Bhaktir Jitatvam Puna Premastam Satavriti Vande. So, Tadi Yeshi Tadneshu. That point is being meant over here that the Lord relishes the reproach of the friends, parents, and fiancés more than the Vedic hymns. So those who try to understand Krishna by the dint of knowledge only, सिर्फ ज्ञान से विश्लेषण करने के लिए कि भगवान का तत्व क्या है, लेकिन उसमें कोई आदान प्रदान नहीं है. So Bhagwan prefers to not to be controlled by them, but to be controlled by his devotees. And in that particular verse, Satyavrat Muni यही बोलते हैं कि तदीयेषु तद्नेषु भक्तिर्जितत्वम, मीन्स जो ज्ञान से भगवान को जीतना चाहते हैं वो हार जाते हैं, और भगवान भक्तों से अपने आप को हराकर उन ज्ञानियों को ये बताते हैं कि लिसन गाइस, योर नॉलेज इज ऑफ नो यूज, क्योंकि नॉलेज देने वाला मैं हूं. क्यों? मत्त स्मृति ज्ञान आपोहनम च वेदेश सर्वे रहमेव वेद्यो. वो सब तो भगवान ने दिया है, खुद दिया है, बट व्हाट ही इज लेफ्ट फॉर अस इज द लव फॉर द सुप्रीम लॉर्ड. वी कैन गो टू द नेक्स्ट वर्स. सोहम नृपेंद्र रहिता पुरुषोत्तमेन सख्या प्रियेण सुहृद्र हृदयेन शून्यः अद्वन्य उरुक्रमा परिग्रहम् अंगरक्षम् गोपैरसेदभिरबिला लेव विरिञ्जतोऽस्मि. Can someone read the translation?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Translation. O Emperor, now I am separated from my friend and dearmost well-wisher, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore my heart appears to be void of everything. In his absence, I have been defeated by a number of infidel cowherd men while I was guarding the bodies of all the wives of Krishna. Purport. The important point in this verse is how it was possible that Arjuna could be defeated by a gang of ignoble cowherd men, and how such mundane cowherd men could touch the bodies of the wives of Lord Krishna, who were under the protection of Arjuna. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura has justified the contradiction by research in the Vishnu Purana and Brahma Purana. In these Puranas, it is said that once the fair denizens of heaven pleased Ashtavakra Muni by their service and were blessed by the Muni to have the Supreme Lord as their husband. Ashtavakra Muni was curved in 8 joints of his body, and thus he used to move in a peculiar curved manner. The daughters of the demigods could not check their laughter upon seeing the movements of the Muni, and the Muni, being angry at them, cursed them that they would be kidnapped by rogues, even if they would get the Lord as their husband. Later on, the girls again satisfied the Muni by their prayers, and the Muni blessed them that they would regain their husband even after being robbed by the rogues. So, in order to keep the words of the great Muni, the Lord himself kidnapped his wives from the protection of Arjuna. Otherwise, they would have at once vanished from the scene as soon as they were touched by the rogues. Besides that, some of the gopis who prayed to become wives of the Lord returned to their respective positions after their desire was fulfilled. After the departure of Lord Krishna, he wanted all his entourage back to Godhead, and they were called back under different conditions only. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. So here it talks about Arjun, the Gandhivdhari, who could not be defeated by the great Kaurav Sena, who challenged Lord Shiva and fought against him. He was defeated by a bunch of rogues who didn't even wear proper Kshatriyas. They were all thieves, thugs. तो अर्जुन को उससे क्या होता है? बलम बलवताम चाहम कामरा विवर्जितम. भगवत गीता में भगवान बोलते हैं कि बलशालियों का बल मैं हूं. तो यहाँ पर we have to understand that it is not by our own might or by our own knowledge or by our own intelligence we can win. We may have some kind of control in these things, but not full control or not extreme. So many a times people say that Krishna cheated in Bhagavad Gita, in the Mahabharata war. Actually, it is not that way. The Lord was just telling, because you are in the side of Dharma, I am supporting you. But the moment Krishna stands there, so it says, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, Tatra Shri Vijayor. Where there is Yogeshwar Krishna and where there is Parth Arjun, Shri and Vijay will stand there. Now what happened suddenly? Out of this, Arjun was there, Shri and Vijay was there, but Krishna was not there. the main link went missing. So Shri, Vijay and Partha, they are all dependent on Sri Krishna. बिना श्री कृष्ण के कुछ नहीं हो सकता. तो वैसे ही ये जो पर्टिकुलर लीला में, अष्टवक्र का जो लीला में अर्जुन को ये रियलाइज हुआ कि all my glory, all my victory, all my achievements was only because of Sri Krishna. Because if at all it was his own, then he shouldn't have been defeated by these rogues, but he was defeated. But then there is a flip side to it. Because these girls, they laughed at a Rishi Muni, Ashuddha Vaishnava, they were cursed. So actually it was Krishna himself who came as the rogues. And because Krishna himself came as the rogues, it is in Brahmanda Puran also, this iska katha bataya gaya. Vishnu Puran, Brahma Vaivarta Puran, Brahmanda Puran, there are 2-3 Puranas which talks about this in a very beautiful way as to how, actually if you go to see, if you read that Puranas, it says that it was not an immediate release. They were in the custody of the rogues for almost a week. And they were made to do the menial service job over there. Bartan ghasna, jhadu chokha karna, khana pakana. And these queens, they never did that in their life, but the rogues made them work. Of course, they were decent. They did not touch their chastity, but they made them work like, to kyun? Just that because of that ahankar, and they were all very badly dressed. Their dresses were torn and they were looking very shabby. And then they prayed to Krishna, oh my dear Lord, we made a mistake. Please save us from this hellish condition. And then Arjuna was able to regain back by Krishna's mercy. So everywhere, Damodar Ashtakam ka, the two-finger philosophy, your effort and Krishna's mercy stands over here. So this is how few things were achieved. Some gopis who wanted to become the wife of Krishna didn't get a chance, and they only got a chance in Ras Mandala. So here, the gopis appeared into the wives' bodies of Krishna, understood Krishna's association, and then they went back. So, there are sometimes double entities in the system. The qualities of certain person are imbibed by a certain person, and uske andar, he stays for some time, understands the situation, and goes back. So this is what happened over here. Next, Prabhu. Tadvai dhanusta ishavaha saratho hayaste soham rathi nripatayo yata atma ritayo anamanti sarvang kshanena tadabhuda asadisha iriktam bhasman hutam kuhukaradham ivapatam ushama. Translation.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. I have the very same Gandhavi bow, the same arrows, the same chariot, drawn by the same horses, and I use them as the same Arjuna, to whom all the kings offered their due respects. But in the absence of Lord Krishna, all of them, at a moment's notice, have become null and void. It is exactly like offering clarified butter on ashes, assimilating money with a magic wand, or sowing seeds on a barren land. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. As we have discussed more than once, one should not be puffed up by borrowed plums. All energies and powers are derived from the supreme sources, Lord Krishna, and they act as long as he desires and ceases to function as soon as he withdraws. All the electrical energies are received from the powerhouse, and as soon as the powerhouse stops supplying energy, the bulbs are of no use. In a moment's time, such energies can be generated or withdrawn by the supreme will of the Lord. Material civilization, without the blessings of Lord, is child's play only. As long as the parents allow the child to play, it is all right. As soon as the parents withdraw, the child has to stop. Human civilization and all activities thereof must be devoted with the supreme blessings of the Lord. And without this blessings, all advancements of human civilization is like decoration on a dead body. It is said here that a dead civilization and its activities are something like clarified butter on ashes. The same accumulation of money by a magic wand and the sowing of seeds in a barren land. Jai Shri Radhapada, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Now you see, Arjun is a Tattvadarshi. He is a student of Sri Dronacharya. He was trained by Sri Vidur and Sri Bhishma Pitama. He was guided by Bhishma Pitama and Kripacharya. So if you go to see, he was a very, very knowledgeable person. Niti Shastra, Dharmak Shastra, all the kind of Shastra. He was Sarva Shastra Visharada. तो एक चीज उसको क्या समझ में आया कि I am the same Arjun, same Gandiv, everything same, but still I could not win because there was no Sri Krishna. तो इसका मतलब क्या हो गया? We call it as Shram Eva Hi Kevalam. It was a waste of efforts. Why waste of efforts? Because whatever action you do, if it is not sanctioned by Krishna, it becomes waste. And that is the reason we have to follow the dharma as given by the Lord. Because you are successful only till the time when the Lord doesn't interfere. I am only successful till the time the Lord does not interfere. Once he intervenes, then you do not know where is the success level. Uska mapdand kya wo nahi pata chalega. That's the reason he's giving a beautiful analogy about the parent and the child. We are all parents. We all have grown up sons now, grown up daughters, or they are in the process of growing up. But there are times when you put your foot down and say, enough. And automatically the child has to stop. So same way, the Supreme Lord's material energy Mother Durga, who is the mother of all of us, Jagat Janani, she says, enough. Then we have to go back. If we're not, then we are going to be hurt. So the analogy is that offering clarified butter, ghee on the ashes, no point, it will not burn. Accumulating money with a magic wand, because जो मैजिक करते हैं वो वापस मैजिक से चला जाता है. या तो रेगिस्तान में जाके बीज डालना जहां पर बारिश की कोई संभावना नहीं है. So a few things that we need to take from this verse is that the realization of Arjun that no matter how powerful I used to be, what respect I used to get was only because of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Second thing, the material world allows us to play only till the time she takes a call. It's not that you take a call. And once the time comes, she will stop you. And another few things is that putting butter in the ashes, burnt ashes, accumulation of money by magic wand, because that is cheating, and sowing the seeds in the barren land is utter foolishness. Hare Krishna. We can go to the next verse. Rajam stvayanu surudam na surutpure viprashapa vimudhanam niganatam mushtibhirmitaha varuni madaram pitva madona mahita chetasam mathita chetasam ajantam tvanayoyam chatu Panchashva Sheshitaha. Translation.
O king, since you have asked me about our friends and relatives in the city of Dwarka, I'll inform you that all of them were cursed by the Brahmins, and as a result, they all became intoxicated with wine made of putrefied rice and fought among themselves with sticks, not even recognizing one another. Now all but 4 or 5 of them are dead and gone.
Jai.
Hare
Hare Krishna. So what happened to the Yaduvanshi dynasty? They were cursed by the Brahmana. These Yaduvanshis were extremely powerful and very chivalrous. But at the same time, they were a bit arrogant also. Because, power brings arrogance. And Krishna realized one thing, that leaving them behind will be a great burden on the earth. Paritrana sadhu naam fir karna padega. So, Samba, the son of Jambavati, was dressed like a girl by the Pandava, by the Yaduvanshis, and presented in front of a sage, telling, as a pregnant lady, telling that isko ladka hoga ya ladki hoga, bataiye bol ke. So by the dint of his spiritual power, he could realize that there is just a iron ball inside. So he said, yes, definitely, he's going to give birth to the Kala. ये तुम्हारा काल बनेगा, ये जो इसका जो गर्भ से निकलेगा जो लोखंड है, और तुम सब ध्वस्त हो जाओगे. तो इन्होंने डर के मारे क्या किया? They took that iron ball to the blacksmith and made it powder fully. एक छोटा सा पीस बच गया. वो पाउडर को लेके आके द्वारका के समुद्र के किनारे डाल दिया. Now what happened? That ground iron fills जमीन में जाकर के they started to grow as the grass that grows in the pond. Long grasses, they grows near the pond. So ऐसा हुआ. And by the dint of Krishna's Yoga Maya, all this Yaduvanshis, they got drunk.
कोकोनट वाटर 5 बोला है तुमने, तो कौन सा बड़े बड़े कोकोनट 5 चाहिए? हाँ,
Tender coconut water.
टेंडर कोकोनट 2 और कोकोनट वाटर 5.
All same.
सेम
All 7.
7 चाहिए. नारियल पानी पूरा 7 चाहिए.
Sorry, Prabhu, we are getting ready for tomorrow's Snan Yatra. I would request all of you all to come and see Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Snan. Yeah. So uske baare mein kuch discussion tha. Sorry about it. So then the wine made of putrefied rice was drunk by these Yaduvanshis, and then they started to brag, blabber, Vinash Kale, Viprit Buddhi. And what they did, they wanted to hit each other. So they started taking that big grass in the hand. And as soon as they took the grass in the hand, it became a mace, iron bhala. It turned into some very deadly weapons. And with that, they all started to hit each other. And almost all of them were finished. They even attacked Krishna and Balram. And Krishna and Balram took their personal gadas and they started to hammer the people out. And then it says now but 4 or 5 of them all are dead and gone. Out of that 4 and 5, what I know is only Uddhav was alive. That's it. Others we need to check who they are. But this was their condition that, and where did this all come from? They were cursed twice. One was a curse given by the Rishi Muni to Samba and the Yaduvanshis, and another was given by Gandhari to Sri Krishna, that since you destroyed my Kula, your Kula will also be destroyed by fighting with each other. And because Krishna is Sarva Karana Karanam, he accepted that and he said, okay, mother, as you wish, it will happen. Because Krishna wanted and means and ways to remove this Yaduvanshis, otherwise they will not go. And this is what happened. The next verse it says, Praenaitad Bhagavata Ishwarasya Vicheshitam Mitho Nignanti Bhutani Bhavayanti Chayanmitaha. Yeah.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Factually, this is all due to the supreme will of the Lord, the personality of Godhead. Sometimes people kill one another, and at other times they protect one another. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. According to the anthropologists, there is nature's law of struggle for existence and survival of the fittest. But they do not know that behind the law of nature is the supreme direction of the supreme personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that the law of nature is executed under the direction of the Lord. Whenever, therefore, there is peace in the world, it must be known that it is due to the goodwill of the Lord. And whenever there is upheaval in the world, it is also due to the supreme will of the Lord. Not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Lord. Whatever, therefore, there is disobedience of the established rules enacted by the Lord. There is war between men and nations. The surest way to the path of peace, therefore, is devoting everything to the established rules of the Lord. The established rule is that whenever we do, or whatever we do, whatever we eat, whatever we sacrifice, or whatever we give in charity must be done to the full satisfaction of the Lord. No one should do anything, eat anything, sacrifice anything, or give anything in charity against the will of the Lord. Discretion is the better part of well-lived, and one must learn how to discriminate between actions which may be pleasing to the Lord and those which may not be pleasing to the Lord. An action is thus judged by the Lord's pleasure or displeasure. There is no room for personal whims. We must always be guided by the pleasure of the Lord. Such action is called yoga. Karma,
Yes.
karmasu,
Kushal.
kaushalyam, kaushalam,
Kaushal.
kaushalam, are actions performed which are linked with the Supreme Lord. That is the art of doing things perfectly. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So sometimes people kill one another, sometimes they protect one another. You see that the friends become foes and the foes become friends. Classic example is Iraq and Kuwait used to be the best friends. Then they had a war with each other because they started to feel that Kuwait is taken away their wealth. Iran and Iraq supposed to be good friends many years back. Then eventually they started to fight with each other. India, China was supposed to be good friends. That was supposed to be, though it was never from one side. And they heavily hammered us out at one point of time. Now the Ukraine USSR is going on, the Vietnam US war. So you see, there are so many calamities in the world. When we do not follow the prescribed dharma, Savay Pumsa Paro Dharmo Yator Bhakti Radhokshaja Ahatukya Pratyata Yayatma Suprasiddhati. What is that dharma? The dharma that teaches you to love God and surrender without any malevolent intentions. That is the pure dharma. But when we are whimsical, so at that point of time, everything starts to deviate. And yoga karmashu kaushalam means, yoga means to get connected. And connected yoga to get to Krishna. So yoga karmashu, get connected, do the job with expertise. And that expertise comes from Krishna. Griheshu avishtam shapi pumsam kushala karmana madvarta yata yama nam na bandaya grihmata. So in Bhagavatam, when the Prachetas didn't want to get married, and Brahmadev requested Lord Narayana to help him. So these 10 Prachetas, after doing the severe austerity as ordained by Lord Shiva, when they came in front of the Lord, they said, my dear Lord, we don't want to get married into Grahastha ashram because again the run of the mill will start. We decide to take Brahmacharya and direct go home back to Godhead. But they were from the Kshatriya Kula. So koi to ek raja dena padega. So the Lord asked them, what is your fear? He said, our fear is once we enter into Grahastha ashram, we will forget you by the nicety of the ashram, but it is a poison. So the Lord said, Griheshu avishatam chapi. If at all you come into Grahastha ashram, pumsam kushala karmanam, you should do good activities, expert activities. How? Madvarta yata yamanam. Whenever you get time, just spend some time reading about my leelas and broadcasting that to the others who do not know. Na bandaya grihmata. Then by that you will not become the bandi of this material world. And this is what exactly it talks over here, that yoga karma kaushalam, actions performed which are linked to the Supreme Lord. That is the art of doing perfectly. So this is called the art of living actually. This is the real art of living. If you see, yoga karmashu kaushalam is the meaning that is the art of living. Next, Prabhu. Jalau kasham jale yadvan mahanto adyanta anishyah durbalan balino rajanna mahanto balino mitaha evam balishter yadubhir Mahadbir itaram vibuhu yadun yadubair anyoyam bhubhadran sanjararaha.
Hare Krishna. O king, as in the ocean, the bigger and stronger aquatics swallow up the smaller and weaker ones. So also the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to lighten the burden of the earth, has engaged the stronger Yadu to kill the weaker, and the bigger Yadu to kill the smaller. Purport. In the material world, the struggle for existence and survival of the fittest are lost because in the material world, there is no disparity between the conditioned souls due to everyone's desire to lord it over the material resources. This very mentality of lording it over the material nature is the root cause of conditioned life. And to give facility to such imitation lords, the illusory energy of the Lord has created a disparity between the conditioned living beings by creating the stronger and the weaker in every species of life. The mentality of lording it over the material nature and the creation has naturally created a disparity and therefore the law of struggle for existence. In the spiritual world, there is no such disparity, nor is there such struggle for existence. In the spiritual world, there is no struggle for existence because everyone there exists eternally. There is no disparity because everyone wants to render service to the Supreme Lord. And no one wants to imitate the Lord in becoming the beneficiary. The Lord, being creator of everything, including the living beings, factually is the proprietor and enjoyer of everything that be. But in the material world, by the spell of Maya or illusion, this eternal relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is forgotten. And so the living being is conditioned under the law of struggle for existence and survival of the fittest. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Beautifully explained again. Bhoktaram yagyatatusham sarvaloka maheshwaram surudam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim rachati. That is what Srila Prabhupada speaks in this particular purport and the previous purport also, that here it says Bhoktaram and there it says Yat karoshi yad ashnashi yad johoshi dadashi yat tapashyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. So there it says that whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you do it for me. And then here it says, I am the master of everything. I am the enjoyer of all the sacrifice. I am the well-wisher of everybody. One who comes to this conclusion never remains in anxiety, but he always remains in peace. But what is the problem with us? In the spiritual world, nobody wants to have the lording mentality. But in the material world, everybody wants to be Ishwaroham, Aham Bhogi, Siddhoham, Balavan Sukhi. I am the master, I am the enjoyer, I am the perfection, I am the strongest. Ishwaroham, Aham Bhogi, Siddhoham, Balavan Sukhi. And I am the most Sukhi person. I can give some charity, I can do this, I can do that. So the atheist person or a demonic person thinks like that. But those who are in devotional service, what they do? They have only one thing in their mind, कि मैं भगवान श्री कृष्ण को किस प्रकार से सेवा कर सकूं. Now, if you see, जीवो जीवस्य जीवनम, that is the law of nature, that one becomes the food of others. So similarly, in the power struggle also, the weaker person is destroyed by the stronger person and he takes the place. But eventually the strongest of all is Sri Krishna, who Kalo asmi haraschaham. As a Kal, I come and devour everything. So one should understand one thing, that unless we don't come to the conclusion that it says that Yat karoshi yad ashnashi and Bhoktaram yakitapasam, you will not reach, or I will not reach, the position of serving the Lord. And what is the position of serving the Lord? We need to come to Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. Once you reach to the level of understanding Brahma, Parabrahma, you become Prasanna Atma. You become Santush, you become happy, Prafullit, Prasanna Atma. But what is the quality of the Prasanna Atma? What should be missing in that? Two things should be missing in that. Na kshochati, na kankshati. किसी चीज का शोक नहीं होना चाहिए और किसी चीज की आकांक्षा नहीं होनी चाहिए. न क्षोचति, no shoka, न कांक्षति, no akansha. So once you are wanting to go to the Brahma Bhuta, you should remove these two things. And what should you apply? ये दो को निकालो. लगाओ क्या? Sama Sarvosha Bhuteshu. All the living entities should be seen with equal eyes. Yes, you may or you may not get along with something. Okay, you will say that I am seeing the tiger with an equal eye, let me go and embrace. That is stupidity. That is not intelligence. Yes, you don't have to kill the tiger can be in his zone and you can be in your zone, and Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. Otherwise, we also have make so many things. छोटा छोटा चीज हम लोग बना के रखते हैं. क्या बनाते हैं हम लोग? Yeah, I am equal to all, but except these two guys. So we always have one or two such people in our lives whom we feel that they are unforgivable. But then Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu collapses over that. Because if you cannot forgive the person, then you are doing Shokshati and Akanshati. तुम्हारे मन की आकांक्षा क्या है कि जो शोक जिसके वजह से मुझे मिला है उसको मैं forgive नहीं करूंगा. So the entire concept of Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma collapses. And here, when we do Dvesha to the Lord, Ichha Dvesha Samuttena, then it becomes more difficult for the struggle. And that is the reason the very mentality of lording over the material nature is the root cause of conditioned soul. And how does this mentality comes? Matirna Krishna, Nate Viduk Swartha Gati में विष्णु. आपका स्वार्थ किस में होना चाहिए? विष्णु को प्राप्त करने में. लेकिन उसको छोड़ के हम बाकी सब करते हैं. That is the reason we are in so much of problem and pain. Next verse. 27th verse. देशकालर्थ युक्तानि ऋततापोपशमान तपपशमानि च हरन्ति स्मरतश्चित्तं गोविन्दाभीति हेमिमि.
Okay, Prabhu. Fine.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Now I am attracted to those instructions imparted to me by the personality of Godhead, Govinda, because they are impregnated with instructions for relieving the burning heart in all circumstances of time and space. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Herein, Arjuna refers to the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, which was imparted to him by the Lord on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. The Lord left behind him the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, not for the benefit of Arjuna alone, but also for all time and in all lands. The Bhagavad Gita, being spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the essence of all Vedic wisdom. It is nicely presented by the Lord himself for all of who have very little time to go through the vast Vedic literature like the Upanishads, Puranas, and Vedanta Sutras. It is put within the study of the great historical epic Mahabharata, which was especially prepared for the less intelligent class, namely the women, the laborers, and those who are worthless descendants of the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and higher section of the Vaishyas. The problem which arose in the heart of Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra was solved by the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Again, after the departure of the Lord from the vision of every people, of earthly people, when Arjuna was face to face with being vanquished in his acquired power and prominence, he wanted again to remember the great teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, just to teach all concerned that the Bhagavad Gita can be considered in all critical times, not only for solace from all kinds of mental agonies, but also for the way our great entanglements which may embrace one in some critical hour. The merciful Lord left behind him the great teachings of Bhagavad Gita so that one can take the instructions of the Lord even when he is not visible to material eyesight. Material senses cannot have any estimation of the Supreme Lord, but by his inconceivable power of Lord can be incarnated himself to the sense preparation, a perception of the conditioned soul in a suitable manner through the agency of matter, which is also another form of Lord's manifested energy. Thus, the Bhagavad Gita or any authentic scriptural sound representation of the Lord is also the incarnation of Lord. There is no difference between the sound representation of Lord and the Lord himself. One can derive the same benefits from the Bhagavad Gita as Arjuna did in the personal presence of the Lord. The faithful human being who is desirous of being liberated from the clutches of material existence can very easily take advantage of Bhagavad Gita. And with this in view, the Lord instructed Arjuna as if Arjuna were in need of it. In the Bhagavad Gita, 5 important factors of knowledge have been delineated pertaining to 1. The Supreme Lord, 2. The living being, 3. The nature, 4. Time and space, and 5. The process of activity. Out of these, the Supreme Lord and the living beings are qualitatively one. The difference between the two has been analyzed as the difference between the whole and the part and parcel. Nature is inert matter, displaying the interactions of 3 different modes, and eternal times and unlimited space are considered to be beyond the existence of material nature. Activities of the living being are different varieties of aptitudes which can entrap or liberate the living being within and without material nature. All these subject matters are concisely discussed in Bhagavad Gita, and later the subject matters are elaborated in the Srimad Bhagavatam for further enlightenment. Out of the 5 subjects, the Supreme Lord, the living entity, nature, and the space are eternal, but the living entity, nature, and time are under the direction of the Supreme Lord, who is absolute and completely independent of any other control. The Supreme Lord is the supreme controller. The material activity of the living being is beginningless, but it can be rectified by transferal into the spiritual quality. Thus, it can cease its material qualitative reactions. Both the Lord and the living entity are cognizant, and both have the senses of identification of being conscious of a living force. But the living being under the conditions of material nature called Mahat Tattva misidentifies himself as being different from the Lord. The whole scheme of Vedic wisdom has targeted the aim of eradicating such a misconception and thus liberating the living being from the illusion of material identification. When such an illusion is eradicated by knowledge and reunification, the living beings are responsible actors and enjoyers also. The sense of enjoyment in the Lord is real, but such a sense in the living being is a sort of wishful desire only. This difference in consciousness is the distinction of the 2 identities, namely the Lord and the living being. Otherwise, there is no difference between the Lord and the living being. The living being is therefore eternally one and different simultaneously. The whole instruction of the Bhagavad Gita stands on this principle. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord and the living beings are both described as Sanatana or eternal, and the Lord's abode far beyond the material sky is also described as Sanatana. The living being is invited to live in the Sanatana existence of the Lord and process which can help in living being to approach the Lord's abode. Where the liberated activity of souls is exhibited is called the Sanatana Dharma. One cannot, however, reach the eternal abode of the Lord without being free from the misconception of material identification. And the Bhagavad Gita gives us the clues how to achieve this stage of perfection. The process of being liberated from the misconception of material identification is called, in different stages, fruitive activities, empiric philosophy, and devotional services. Devotional service up to the transcendental realization. Such a transcendental realization is made possible by devoting all the above items in relation with the Lord. Prescribed duties of the human being, as directed in the Vedas, can gradually purify the sinful mind of the conditioned soul and raise him to the stage of knowledge. The purified stage of acquiring knowledge becomes the basis of devotional service to the Lord. As long as one is engaged in researching the solution of the problem of life, his knowledge is called jnana, or purified knowledge. But on realizing the actual solution of life, one becomes suited in the devotional service of the Lord. The Bhagavad Gita begins with the problems of life by discriminating the soul from the elements of matter, and proves by all reasons and arguments that the soul is indestructible in all circumstances, and that the outer covering of matter, the body and the mind, changes for another term of material existence, which is full of miseries. The Bhagavad Gita is therefore meant for terminating all different types of miseries, and Arjuna took shelter of this great knowledge which has been imparted to him during the Kurukshetra battle. Jai Srila
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Hare
Jai
Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada. See, the beauty of Srila Prabhupada is that within this verse, he has summarized the whole Bhagavad Gita. How difficult it is for people like us to even comprehend Bhagavad Gita or read it once, but the Lord has empowered him in such a way that in 5 paragraphs, he has completely written the essence of the 700 verses. This is what happens, when you are blessed by the Lord, when we are serving the Lord with sincerity, not thinking about our qualification, but thinking about our disqualification, and thinking about others' pain, paradukha dukhi. This is what happens, Prabhu, because just think about it. I would request all of you to read this. ये जो particular translation जो है, purport जो है, इसको मैं आप लोग से विनती करूंगा, जो भी लैंग्वेज में आप लोग कंफर्टेबल हो उसमें पढ़िएगा जरूर, 2-3 दफे पढ़िएगा. आपको पूर्ण भगवद गीता का जो सार है ये इसमें मिल जाएगा. और ये तब हो सकता है जब भी हम भगवान से जुड़े हो एक दासत्व भाव में, और एक गुरु के सामने निष्ठावान होकर उनके बताए रास्ते पर चल सकते हैं. बिकॉज फ्रॉम द गुरु द परंपरा स्टार्ट. हम परंपरा के लिए किसके लिए बोलते हैं? इसी के लिए बोलते हैं कि परंपरागत आने वाले गुरु में अगर हम विश्वास रखेंगे तो इस प्रकार की क्वालिटी का ज्ञान, इस प्रकार के शुद्ध विशुद्ध सत्व ज्ञान हम लोग को मिल सकता है. इसके अंदर समझाने से जैसा कुछ नहीं है, क्योंकि प्रभुपाद ने ही समझा दिया. इसको हम और क्या सिंप्लीफाई करें? If I try to explain you more than this, it means I am trying to be greater than Prabhupada. That will be the meaning of it. But the way it is written, जिस प्रकार से शिला प्रभुपाद ने problems of life ज्ञाना, तो अभी अर्जुन, सबसे पहले अर्जुन क्या बोलता है? अर्जुन ने ये बताया कि उसके दुख की सीमा नहीं है, लेकिन फिर उस दुख को कम करने के लिए उन्होंने क्या कहा? अब मुझे याद आ रहा है वो कुरुक्षेत्र के वार्तालाप भगवान श्री कृष्ण के साथ, जिसमें उन्होंने मुझे जीने का एक रास्ता दिखाया. Many people they ask, Prabhu, what is Bhagavad Gita? उनको उनके लैंग्वेज में आप जवाब दे दो. It is an SOP, standard operating process of life. The moment you tell them SOP, they will say, okay, Otherwise, they think it's a religious book. So when you present Gita, देखो कि कौन सी जबान उनको समझ में आती है, क्योंकि गीता के अंदर वो सब कुछ है जो हर जबान वाले को समझ में आ सकती है. गीता टॉक्स अबाउट मैनेजमेंट, गीता टॉक्स अबाउट एग्रेशन कंट्रोल, गीता टॉक्स अबाउट माइंड कंट्रोल, गीता टॉक्स अबाउट सर्विस, गीता टॉक्स अबाउट सो मेनी थिंग्स. एंड जो वेस्टर्नर्स जो है, द गुरु वर्ड कम्स फ्रॉम द वर्ड गीता, एंड इट इज अ वेरी बिग टेक्निकल जागरण ओवर देयर, यू नो, कि वहां पर उन लोग बोलते हैं कि ये गुरु, देन धर्मा, कर्मा. बड़े बड़े जो MBA के जो स्कूल्स वाले हैं, व्हाट हैव दे डन, दे हैव जस्ट टेकन फ्रॉम द 3rd and the 4th चैप्टर ऑफ भगवत गीता, जो जो उनको चाहिए वो लेकर के उन्होंने उसके ऊपर बहुत सारी चीजें बनाई हैं. तो इससे हमको क्या समझ में आता है कि जीवन के किसी भी मोड़ पर, हर अवस्था में हमें भगवत गीता रोज पढ़ना चाहिए, भले एक श्लोक ही क्यों ना हो, भले एक श्लोक ही क्यों ना हो. Because we have to understand कि without this our life is not going to perform. So what do we do now? There are some people who will challenge you on Bhagavad Gita. बोलेगा मेरा कर्म ही मेरा भगवान है. तो आप ऐसे लोगों को क्या बोलेंगे? Some people will say that my karma is my Bhagwan. Some people will say I don't believe in, मेरा ज्ञान ही मेरा भगवान है. Sorry, the battery is going down. So all those people who say that काम ही मेरा, कर्म ही मेरा भगवान है, तो भगवान what he says, ऐसे को आप कौन सा श्लोक बोलेंगे? भगवत गीता का ये श्लोक बोलिएगा कि यत करोषि यद अश्नासि यद जोषि ददासि यत तपस्यासि कौन्तेय तत्कुरुष्व मदर्पणम. He says, okay, your karma is your Lord. Well, Krishna says, whatever you do it for me. मदर्पणम. तो कोई ज्ञानी होगा, वो बोलेगा प्रभु मैं ज्ञान से भगवान को जानना चाहता हूँ, आई एम अ ज्ञानी होगी, मुझे कृष्ण के बारे में जानकर क्या करना है. तो उसके लिए आप क्या श्लोक बोलेंगे? बहुनाम जन्म नामन्ते ज्ञानवान मां प्रपद्यते वासुदेव सर्व इति स महात्मा सुदुर्लभः. तो जो ज्ञानी बोलता है कि मैं ज्ञान से भगवान को जानूंगा, तो भगवान बोलते हैं कि कई जन्मों के बाद जब पूर्ण ज्ञान उसको संचित होता है, तो उसका उसका लक्षण क्या है? हे वासुदेव तू सर्व इति. लेकिन बाद में बोलते स महात्मा सुदुर्लभ, भगवान कटाक्ष करते हैं. ऐसा लोग होता ही नहीं है, क्योंकि दे नेवर अंडरस्टैंड. क्यों? मनुष्यानाम सहस्रेषु कश्चिद यतति सिद्धये यततामपि सिद्धानाम कश्चिद माम वेति तत्वतः. लाखों करोड़ों मनुष्य में कोई एक सिद्धि प्राप्ति के लिए प्रयत्न करता है, और ऐसे करोड़ों प्राप्त किए हुए सिद्धि वालों में से कोई एक ही मुझे जान पाता है, क्योंकि वो बेसिकली मुझे जानना नहीं चाहता, वो सिद्धि प्राप्त करके खुद भगवान बनना चाहता है. क्यों? इच्छा द्वेष समुत्तेन द्वंद्व मोहेन भारत. और लास्ट में बहुत लोग ऐसे होते हैं जो बोलते हैं कि प्रभु हम तो योग में विश्वास करते हैं, हम विपासना करते हैं, हम मेडिटेशन करते हैं, तो ऐसे में भगवान का उनके लिए क्या कहना है? भगवान कहते हैं योगी नाम अपि सर्वेषाम मद्गतेनंतर आत्मनः श्रद्धावान भजते यो माम समय युक्ता ततो मतः. तो जो अपने आप को ये बोलते हैं कि मैं योगी हूं और इसमें किसी के ऊपर भी ध्यान कर सकते हैं, भगवान बोलते हैं योगी नाम अपि सर्वेषाम मद्गतेन अंतरात्मना, जो अंतरात्मा में मुझे देखता है, भजते योगी नाम अपि सर्वेषाम मद्गतेन. और आगे वो क्या बोलते हैं? भजताम प्रीति पूर्वकम, प्रेम से जो प्रीति पूर्वक मुझे भजता है. तो मतलब ध्यान करने का मतलब भजन करना होता है, ना कि किसी वर्ड के ऊपर हम लोग खाली ध्यान लगाना है. दैट इज द रीजन यू सी द लास्ट line of this purport is the key. The Bhagavad Gita is therefore meant for terminating all different type of miseries, and Arjun took the shelter of this great knowledge which had been imparted to him to the battle of Kurukshetra. तो देखिए हमारे जीवन में आदि भौतिक, आदि दैविक, आध्यात्मिक 3 प्रकार के मिजरीज है. फिर जन्म मृत्यु जरा व्याधि 4 और 3 7 हो गए. फिर अल्प आयु 8 हो गया. मंदाहा सुमंद मतयो मंद भाग्य उपद्रता टोटल 12 हो गए. ये 12 तो हम लोग गिन सकते, लेकिन इसके अलावा और भी कई है. और इन सभी चीजों से बाहर आने का और इसको पूर्ण रूप से निकाल देने का कैसे कर सकते हैं आप? जस्ट टेक द शेल्टर ऑफ द ग्रेट नॉलेज दैट अर्जुना टुक। लेकिन इन व्हाट मूड? स्कॉलरली मूड के नहीं कि चलो मैं संस्कृत जानता हूं तो मैं इसकी टीका निकालूंगा बोल के, आई विल राइट माई ओन टीका, व्हाट प्रीवियस आचार्य हैव डन। नहीं, हम लोगों को उसका शेल्टर लेना है, आश्रय जाकर प्रणिपात परिप्रश्न सेवया। इसका मैं आपको एक उदाहरण देता हूं। हमारे इधर गीता चैंपियंस लीग का एक प्रोग्राम हुआ करता था एक जमाने में, दामोदर देश में, आज से 8-9 साल पहले। तो तरह तरह के लोग आते थे, इस गीता को पढ़ करके आके वो लिखते थे कि ये क्या है। तो डिस्कवरी गार्डन्स की तरफ से जबल अली में से एक महिला आई जो कि संस्कृत की विद्वान पंडिताइन थी, ऐसा वो बोलती थी कि उन्होंने संस्कृत पढ़ा और संस्कृत सिखाती थी। तो उन्होंने शिला प्रभुपाद के ऊपर एक कटाक्ष काट करके बोला कि भगवत गीता में ये भगवान जब बोलते हैं कि मकर, कि मैं आउट ऑफ द एक्वाटिक्स आई एम द शार्क, तो वहां पर वो लिखा है मकर, तो उन्होंने बोली मकर का मतलब होता है मगरमच्छ, और आपके प्रभुपाद ने लिखा है शार्क, तो ये कंप्लीटली गलत है। तो मैंने उनको कहा कि माता जी आप ऐसे कैसे बोल सकते हैं? तो उन्होंने कहा कि प्रभुपाद का क्या क्वालिफिकेशन है आपका? वो तो बंगाल से आए थे, इंग्लिश जानते थे, संस्कृत उन्होंने सीखी नहीं कभी, लगता है उन्होंने कुछ विश्लेषण करके आया था, सम बैकग्राउंड होमवर्क। तो मैंने उनसे कहा लेकिन उससे क्या फर्क पड़ता है? बोला बहुत फर्क पड़ता है, देखो ये गलत लिख दिया आप लोगों ने, मकर का मतलब होता है मगरमच्छ। तो मैंने कहा कि देखिए माता जी, मैं आपको इसका जवाब अभी नहीं दे सकता क्योंकि मैं संस्कृत का पंडित नहीं हूँ, लेकिन मेरे प्रभुपाद गलत नहीं हो सकते। अगर उन्होंने लिखा है तो पूर्व आचार्यों के पास से लिखा है, और हमारे पूर्व आचार्य जो थे वो संस्कृत के विद्वान थे। तो बोली मैं नहीं मानती। बोला माता जी क्षमा याचना करता हूँ, आपके मानने न मानने से मैं आपकी बात नहीं मानूंगा। आपको किसी के गुरु के ऊपर कटाक्ष काटने का अथॉरिटी किसी ने नहीं दिया। लेकिन ये बात मेरे मन में गूंज रही थी क्योंकि साधारण तरीके से मकर का मतलब मगरमच्छ होता है, वो हम भी जानते हैं, लेकिन फिर क्यों उधर भगवान शिला प्रभुपाद ने लिखा कि ऑफ द एक्वाटिक्स आई एम शार्क? फिर मैं जाके बलदेव विद्याभूषण का गीता भूषण निकाल करके उसको पढ़ना शुरू किया, और विश्वनाथ चक्र ठाकुर के सारार्थ वर्षिनी को पढ़ना शुरू किया। उस पर्टिकुलर जगह में उन्होंने क्या लिखा? मकर का मतलब वो प्राणी जिसके दांत नुकीले होते हैं। मकर उस प्राणी को कहा जाता है पानी के जिसके दांत नुकीले होते हैं। तो उसमें शार्क और मगरमच्छ दोनों के दांत नुकीले हैं। सो यू सी, हम लोग लकीर का फकीर नहीं बनना चाहिए कि इसका मतलब ये, क्योंकि संस्कृत में एक ही चीज को कई चीजों से जाना जाता है। इसके लिए जब तक हम हमारे विद्वान, हमारा विद्या विनय संपन्न है, विद्या जो है विनम्रता से संपन्न होती है, लेकिन हमको क्या होता है विद्या अहंकार संपन्न है। So the very basis of reading Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, the very basis of doing this activity is what? The very basis is that हम लोगों को सदैव विनम्र भाव से प्रणिपात परिप्रश्न सेवया गुरु की करनी चाहिए। उपदेक्षांति ते ज्ञानम ज्ञानिनस् तत्वदर्शिना। तो अर्जुन के गुरु कौन बने? द्रोणाचार्य के बाद साक्षात भगवान श्री कृष्ण बने। वो भी कब बने? जब अर्जुन ने कहा कि शिष्यस्ते हम शादी माम त्वम प्रपन्नम, हे भगवंत, हे केशव, हे जनार्दन, हे गोविंद, मैं आपके सामने अपने आप को शिष्य की तरह प्रस्तुत करता हूं। अब मैं भूल चुका हूं कि हम दोनों सखा थे, थोड़ी देर पहले कहा ना कि हम सखा थे। अब मैं भूल चुका हूं कि हम कजन ब्रदर्स हैं, कि आप मेरे बुआ के पुत्र हो, मैं सब भूल चुका हूं। मुझे अभी क्या चाहिए? यद श्रेष्ठ निश्चितम ब्रूहितन में, जो मेरे लिए श्रेष्ठ है आप बोलिए। मेरे अंदर ये विकार क्यों है कृपाणता की? क्योंकि मैं ये सोच रहा था कि मैं सब कुछ जानता हूं। तो ऐसे जब भी हम भाव से गीता पढ़ेंगे, भागवत पढ़ेंगे, इस प्रकार से हम अपना ग्रुप में चर्चा करेंगे, तो उससे क्या पता चलता है कि वी आर blessed by the Lord. So we are open for the question answer sessions now, Prabhuji. You can stop the screen share.
Prabhu, in this last verse, which we are discussing, there I find a sentence: the living being is therefore eternally one and different simultaneously.
Yeah.
I think something about that, or some चैतन्य चरितमृत में ये ऐसा कुछ है इसके बारे में।
अचिंत्य भेदाभेद, दैट इज कॉल्ड अचिंत्य भेदाभेद, वन एंड डिफरेंट। मतलब अचिंत्य भेदाभेद क्या बोलता है कि क्वालिटेटिवली वी आर वन। जैसे कि फॉर एग्जांपल ये बोतल में पानी है, अगर मैं इस पानी को समुद्र के पानी से भर दूं तो इफ यू सी द मेकिंग ऑफ दिस वाटर, मतलब H2O, वो सेम रहेगा। बट डज दिस वाटर हैव द कैपेबिलिटी ऑफ द डिस्ट्रक्शन व्हाट द सी वाटर हैज, प्रभु? Qualitatively both are one, but one is Vibhu, one is supremely powerful, and one is Anu, infinitesimal, गिनती में नहीं आता है। एक गिलास पानी का आप लेके बोलेंगे कि मैं इससे बाढ़ पैदा कर दूंगा, वो नहीं होगा। लेकिन वही समुद्र जो है उसके अंदर वो क्षमता है, वो बाढ़ खत्म करके सबको ध्वस्त कर सकता है। सो वन साइमल्टेनियसली वन मीन्स क्वालिटेटिवली वन, and different means quantitatively different, because one is supremely powerful, one is infinitesimally small. प्रभु उसका ये मतलब है।
Then there is one more, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Both the Lord and the living entity are cognizant, and both have the sense of identification of being conscious as a living force.
Yeah. Cognizant मतलब हमको ये पता होना चाहिए कि मैं आत्मा हूं, मैं शरीर नहीं। That is one point
हिंदी
of
में उसका मीनिंग है प्रबद्ध।
प्रबद्ध। हाँ, तो इससे हम क्या समझ सकते हैं कि हम जिस परिस्थिति में अब हैं, हम ऐसे परिस्थिति में पहले नहीं थे। जब हम वैकुंठ में थे तो हमको सब पता था कि हम कौन है, भगवान कौन है, हमारा उनके साथ संबंध क्या है। लेकिन जो ही हमने ये डिसाइड किया कि हमको भगवान से अलग हो करके स्वयं भगवान बनना है, तो वहां पर माया ने हमको अटैक कर दिया। ये सोचना कि मैं भगवान से अलग हूं और मेरा अपना एक अस्तित्व है, ये माया है। सो एट द टाइम ऑफ आवर बर्थ, जब हम भगवान श्री कृष्ण से विभिन्न अंश के स्वरूप में बाहर आए थे, तो उस पर हम तथास्थ शक्ति थे। ना हम वैकुंठ में थे, ना हम धरती पर थे। हम उस जगह में थे जहां पर हमको ये तय करना था कि मैंने भगवान की सेवा में ऊपर जाना है या नीचे आके स्वयं भगवान बनना है। या आपको दशमूल तत्व, जो भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर ने किताब लिखी है दशमूल तत्व, उस दशमूल तत्व के 6ठे अध्याय के अंदर ये बताया जाता है कि जीव कैसे निर्णय लेता है। तो उस समय आप बोलेंगे कि प्रभु माया से प्रभावित होकर मैं नीचे आया था, नहीं। दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम यू एंड कृष्णा आर फुल्ली कॉग्निजेंट। जैसे भगवान को पूर्णता से सब कुछ मालूम है, आपको आपके कैपेसिटी में भगवान ने पूर्ण ज्ञान दिया ये विश्लेषण लेने का कि आपको मेरे साथ आना है वैकुंठ में या नीचे जाना है। सो दिस इज दैट कॉग्निजेंस व्हाट दे आर टॉकिंग, कि उनको सब कुछ पता होता है उस समय, लेकिन उसके पता होने के बाद वो जो थोड़ा सा आपको एक इंडिपेंडेंस होता है ना, वी हैव दैट स्मॉल इंडिपेंडेंस कि ओके आई कैन डू दिस और आई कैन डू दैट। उस इंडिपेंडेंस का जो सही मायने में फायदा उठाते हैं वो पहुंच जाते हैं वैकुंठ ठाकुर जी की सेवा में, और जो उसका दुरुपयोग करके ये सोचते कि मैं ईश्वर हूं वहां भोगी सिद्धों बलवान सुखी बने, तो वो नीचे आ जाते हैं प्रभु। दैट्स द मीनिंग।
थैंक यू प्रभु।
थैंक यू। किसी का और कोई प्रश्न?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Sorry.
हरे कृष्णा।
Prabhuji, we have read in the previous shloka that karmasu.
Yeah. जी।
So how will we know? हमें कैसे पता चलेगा कि हम भगवान की इच्छा के अनुसार काम कर रहे हैं या भगवान को खुश करने के लिए काम कर रहे हैं?
वो कैसे पता चलेगा माता जी? उसका एक सिंपल सा चीज है कि आपको अपने जीवन में आध्यात्मिक गुरु को लेना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि वो गुरु बता सकते हैं। जैसे कि फॉर एग्जांपल, आपका प्रश्न बहुत अच्छा है। मेरा बेटा अभी 10th स्टैंडर्ड में है, 10th स्टैंडर्ड के अंदर मुझे उसको पढ़ाना है, लेकिन मुझे कैसे पता चलेगा कि वो क्या पढ़ने से अच्छा परसेंटेज लाएगा? तो उसके लिए मैं उसके लाइफ में एक टीचर लाता हूँ जो कि परिपूर्णता से जानती है कि 10वीं के बच्चे को किस प्रकार से पढ़ाया जाना चाहिए। So when I hand over my child to such a teacher who knows how to give him that knowledge, जिससे कि वो 10वीं कक्षा में अच्छे से पढ़े, और 10वीं की कक्षा के एग्जाम वाले क्या चाहते हैं, ठीक उसी प्रकार से हमारे जीवन में एक पारंपरिक गुरु का होना जरूरी है, जिसके शेल्टर में जाकर के, जिसके आश्रय में जाकर हम उनसे विनती करें कि प्रभु। तो इसकी शुरुआत कैसे होती है? आपको कैसे पता चलेगा कि गुरु कौन है? तो आप भगवान के पास जाके बोलिए कि प्रभु आप क्या चाहते हैं, मैं कैसे जानूं? क्योंकि आपको तो कोई नहीं जानता, लेकिन आपके जानने वाले बहुत हैं। अगर आप मुझे दया करके उस मनुष्य से मिला दे या उस गुरु से मिला दे जो आपके बारे में मुझे बताए कि आप क्या चाहते हैं, तो ये जो भगवान परमात्मा के रूप में चैत्य गुरु बन के बैठा है ना, ये आपको उस इंसान से मिलाएगा जो उसका सच्चा डिवोटी है, और वो डिवोटी जो है आपको फिर बताएगा कि भगवान को क्या पसंद है। इसका एक और लास्ट आपको देता हूँ। आर यू वर्किंग और यूर हाउस वाइफ?
आई एम हाउस वाइफ।
अच्छा, ठीक है, नो प्रॉब्लम। फिर भी आप थोड़ा बहुत तो जानते होंगे। चलो फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आपके मन में एक तीव्र इच्छा उठी कि मैंने जाके शेख मोहम्मद की सेवा करनी है या नरेंद्र मोदी की सेवा करनी है, तो विल यू बी अपॉइंटेड इमीडिएटली?
नो प्रभु जी।
आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा उसके लिए? उनके उन अनुयायियों के साथ में जाना पड़ेगा और मिलना पड़ेगा जो लोग
उनके सबऑर्डिनेट्स के पास जाना पड़ेगा।
सबऑर्डिनेट्स आपको बताएंगे कि देखिए इनके साथ इस प्रकार का व्यवहार करना, इनको ये पसंद है, इनको ये पसंद नहीं है।
जी।
उस सीखने के बाद में जब आप क्वालिफाइड हो जाओगे तो आपको प्रस्तुत कर दिया जाएगा कि माय डियर सर, दिस लेडी हैज एक्वायर्ड द नेसेसरी क्वालिफिकेशन टू वर्क अंडर योर गाइडेंस। ठीक उसी प्रकार से भगवान भी कैसा करते हैं, आपको भगवत गीता देते हैं और बाद में गुरु भेजते हैं, और बाद में जब आप प्रणिपात परिप्रश्न सेवा करके उनके शेल्टर में जाते हैं तो गुरु विल टीच यू व्हाट इज राइट, व्हाट इज रॉन्ग, एंड दैट इज द रीजन यू शुड बी वेरी स्मार्ट इन चूजिंग अ वाइज गुरु एंड नॉट अ बोगस गुरु। माता जी,
जी प्रभु।
थैंक
प्रभु
यू।
जी, you have to guide.
हरे कृष्णा। वी विल ऑल डू आवर बेस्ट, बिकॉज शिला प्रभुपाद का आश्रय में हम सब हैं और शिला प्रभुपाद हमारे गुरु हैं, तो उससे हमको जरूर सीख मिलेगा। हमसे जितना होगा माता जी हम जरूर शेयर करेंगे। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you so much, प्रभु जी।
Prabhuji, in one of the discussions, we said that we need to make the donations and other things which are acceptable to the Lord. So
We need
how
to be,
which are acceptable to the Lord?
before that sentence you said we need to
We need to do the things which are acceptable to the Lord, like donations and other things.
Yeah.
So how do we know which donations are acceptable to the Lord?
donations in one sense has to be given to a place where it will be completely utilized for the Supreme Lord. अभी फॉर एग्जाम्पल क्या होता है कि हम जब डोनेशन देते हैं किसी संस्था को तो हम लोग वेरीफाई करके देना चाहिए कि वो संस्था उस राशि की करेगी क्या, as much as possible. After that, if there is cheating is happening, then they will pay for it, Prabhu. That is not your prerogative, because they will be also responsible for cheating some people. But at least make some basic understanding कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन सही है नहीं है, फ्रॉड तो नहीं है, फंड कलेक्ट करके इन लोग गायब तो नहीं होने वाले हैं, तो वो सब चीज थोड़ा बहुत देख करके देना चाहिए। और डोनेशन लेने वाले की पात्रता क्या है, व्हाट इज हिज क्वालिफिकेशन, दैट नीड्स टू बी अंडरस्टूड प्रभु। ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है, बिकॉज सी फॉर एग्जाम्पल I will tell you one thing. Many years back, I had been to one Tirtha Kshetra in India. So in the Tirtha Kshetra, what we did was, one boy came, एक 9 साल का लड़का है, मेरे को बोला, can you give me some money? I am hungry. तो मैंने उनसे कहा, बेटा मैं पैसे तो नहीं दूंगा, तुमको भूख लगी है, मैं तुमको खाना खिला दूंगा। तो he was persistent. He said, no, देना है तो पैसा दे, जो मुझे जो खाना मैं खाऊंगा। बोला, तुमको जो खाना मैं खिलाऊंगा। He didn't, so गुस्से में चला गया। I didn't give him the money. Something had a gut feeling कि it could be misused. और 15 मिनट के बाद जब मैं घूम रहा था तो एक बैनियन ट्री के नीचे बैठ के लड़का बीड़ी फूक रहा था और पत्ते खेल रहा था। So this happens. So many a times you feel अरे beggar है, ये है। Never give money, because with that money, if he misuses that money, you become the shareholder of that particular person in karma, पाप कर्मा। तो अगर किसी को कोई तकलीफ है, कुछ है, तो पहले देखो। Not that everybody will be like that, but it is our duty to find out whom we are giving and what they are going to do with that. Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare.
प्रभु, जैसे कृष्णा कॉन्शियसनेस में आने से पहले जब भी हम लोग नॉर्मल मंदिरों में जाते थे, तो जैसे मंगलवार को है या कुछ है, तो जितना भी वो थाली में हम चढ़ाते थे, थोड़ी देर बाद में पंडित जी उसको उठा के अपना जेब में डाल लेते। And this was a normal feature, everything. At least now, since last so many years, giving a donation to ISKCON, whatever center we are enrolled to, I think that is the only surety, because it goes to Axis Bank and it goes to that particular account, and certainly it will not be, matlab, they will have to, they must be properly doing you must be using it for the Krishna service.
प्रभु, इसके लिए क्या होता है, जब भी आप कोई राशि दो इस्कॉन में भी, तो उसका पर्ची जरूर लेना। अगर आप हुंडी में डालते हो तो अपने मच्छे से डालते हो, लेकिन अगर आप किसी भी प्रकार की राशि देते हो, इवन अगर आप समझो 501 रुपया देते हो या 101 रुपया देते हो, तो काइंडली टेक द रिसिप्ट प्रभु, क्योंकि यू नेवर नो कि लोगों की मंशा क्या है। इस्कॉन इन इटसेल्फ इज अ वंडरफुल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, लेकिन कौन से लोग किस मंशा से आते हैं वो हमारे लिए थोड़ा सा डिफिकल्ट होता है। तो जब भी हम इस प्रकार का कार्य, जब मैं जाता हूँ, अभी मैं स्वयं इस्कॉन में इतने वर्षों से, इवन नाउ इफ आई एम मेकिंग अ 51 रुपी डोनेशन, आई टेक अ स्लिप एंड कम, बिकॉज दे हैव टू गिव दैट प्रभु। तो that ensures that it will be used in 100% वे, क्योंकि कुछ जिम्मेदारी हमारी भी होती है, सिर्फ भावुकता से काम नहीं चलता है प्रभु जी, इसके लिए। बट आई अप्रिशिएट योर वर्ड्स प्रभु, थैंक यू।
Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Subal here.
Great. Yeah.
Prabhu, I had just one point here. I want to take the example of Tirupati temple. Now, Mr. Jagan Reddy, who is a Christian person, has now become the head of the trust over there. And there are quite a few news that are coming out that he is utilizing that money for the betterment of Christian preaching and all that. Now, my thought process, please correct me if I'm wrong, my thought process is, when you know this, okay, then why should you donate in Tirupati temple when you know that your money is going to get misused? It will basically meaning, look at the repercussions. This money will be used by Christian evangelical organizations. They will preach against Hinduism, okay? And at a certain point of time, if not now, but or later, but 1 or 2 or 3 generations later, this money will get used to such an extent that majority of the Hindus would have got converted as well by that time, either to any other way. Now, at a certain point of time, when people will not be sufficient to go to the temple, the maintenance of the temple will not happen, and which will mean that the temple will get destroyed also. And then they will even, usurp the land also over there. So, na rahega Tirupati temple, na rahega the deity over there, and the land will also get misused. So, why should I contribute to such a cause? Is what my query is.
Prabhu, you have picked up a personality who is unique than all the Vishnu temples. Coincidentally, आपने उस personality का नाम लिया है जिसके पास, उसके बाप का क्या हुआ था पता चला था आपको प्रभु? जगन रेड्डी का फादर मरे कैसे थे?
नहीं, पता नहीं.
प्रभु, his chopper went and hit the hill straight and he was burned to ashes प्रभु, क्योंकि उसके फादर ने भी यही गलती किया था। तिरुपति बालाजी प्रभु एक ऐसा पर्सनालिटी विष्णु का है जो आपको ऐश्वर्य देता है। आपको विष्णु कभी ऐश्वर्य नहीं देगा। कृष्णा विल नेवर गिव यू मनी, ही विल गिव यू भक्ति। बट इन तिरुपति बालाजी's केस, he will stand there, he is the मूर्ति ऑफ कलयुगा प्रभु। सब खत्म हो जाएंगे, वो खत्म नहीं होंगे, क्योंकि द तिरुपति का जो वराह पुराण में उसके बारे में बताया है, he is the lord of कलयुगा standing over there to bless the people. The money, once you give it to Tirupati, it is taken by Tirupati in person, and Tirupati says, this is my money. And when you misuse that Prabhu, you will see the repercussions very badly. बाकी किसी मंदिर में, so many evangelists are doing that, but प्रभु उधर पैसा इतना आता है कि they will have no issues on that. Tirupati Balaji is called Ito Uttakari. Ito Uttakari matlab he will do all the benefit for everybody. But those who cheat the Lord, especially Tirupati Balaji, प्रभु उनका स्कोप बहुत वीक है। मैं आपको इतना कह सकता हूँ कि ये मंदिर कलयुग के अंत तक खड़ा रहेगा प्रभु, और जो लोग इसके अंदर चीटिंग कर रहे हैं, they will pay heavily with their lives प्रभु, because his father got an evangelist and made him sit in Tirumala Devasthanam for collection, and eventually the most powerful person of Andhra Pradesh with all 34 Lok Sabha seats was burned to ashes. This one Lord प्रभु, आप आंख बंद करके पैसा दे सकते हो, he knows how to manage his money प्रभु, he is a compound interest Lord. मेरे अंकल का हीरे का अंगूठी गिर गया था हुंडी के अंदर, क्योंकि उन्होंने प्रे किया था कि अगर मुझे इतना फायदा होगा तो मैं इतना दूंगा। बाद में सोचा इतना क्यों दूं मैं, तो उसने खाली 500 का नोट डाला, हाथ अंदर गया, अंगूठी गिर गई, 2.5 लाख की अंगूठी गई प्रभु। This Lord will take care of himself प्रभु, rest assured. You should go and put money over there and help the Lord, because the Lord says, one who helps me to give the money, because he's paying the loan for the marriage debt he has taken. I can assure you Prabhuji, we can have a chat further. आ गया प्रभु?
Okay, sure, Prabhu. Let's have, because the concept may not be applicable here in this case, but the concept still remains, right? That the money will get misused against Hinduism.
No, Prabhuji, don't worry about that. The Tirumala Devasthanam is a powerful personality. We will
I'm
talk.
not talking about specific to this temple. It was just
Yeah,
given.
others are there.
बट अदर्स
But
में अगर मिसयूज हो रहा है तो दैट विल एक्चुअली क्रिएट मोर इश्यूज फॉर अस लेटर.
प्रभु अनफॉर्चुनेटली क्या हो रहा है मालूम है, इफ यू रीड द भागवतम, the entire system has to become a Malech or a Yavana. So this is also going to be hampered. So नहीं तो भागवतम झूठा हो जाएगा. So हम अपना कर्म करेंगे, वो अपना कर्म करेंगे, भगवान उनका देखेंगे क्या करना है प्रभु. So गोकुल चंद्र प्रभु is here प्रभु. मुझे आप लोग से आज्ञा चाहिए. Thank you very much.
Thank you
We'll
very much,
catch
Prabhu.
you soon again प्रभु. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Thanks a lot. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot.